So another thing we really need to do is to think about doing favors for other authors in your genre. It's amazingly powerful to network with other authors in your genre, and most authors really aren't trying. Some authors are doing it, but a lot of them aren't, or they say, they have no idea how to get started, or they feel so alone and isolated. But whatever you're writing, there are at least at least 100 other authors probably in your city who are writing the same genre. But at least in your state, in the world, there's thousands, but you don't need thousands. If you can find 100 other self-publishing authors who are trying to write books in your genre, it's to everybody's advantage to try and work together and build some platforms that attract the right readers. But even just for you and your own platform, you can start to do things to make yourself valuable to them, but also to get content that attracts readers to you. So, for example, you can review their books. You want to be writing book reviews anyway. Um, like I said, it's a great idea to review best-selling books in your genre, especially new books when they first come out. So if you, one easy thing I think I'll mention later to do with your opt-in list is say, if you sign up for my opt-in list, I'll send you my favorite books of every month. So every month you just look for the new best-selling books in your genre. You write a short review about five of them. So that's five individual blog posts on your blog. And then you send an email out to your email list with your, well, like one article summarizing. So like you would write five different book reviews, like a book review for, I'll show you one of the sites I'm trying to make, if I can find it. Off. So this is a site I just started. I don't have a lot of content on it yet. It's not finished yet. But basically, I wanted to start a book review website for young adult paranormal fiction because that's what I want to write about. So I made this book review site, and I actually started to review some books that aren't even out yet. So this is The Siren by Kira Cass, which is a mermaid book. It's great if I can write the very first review for this book, because a lot of people, it's not out until January. So if I write a review about it now, and basically what that means is just I find all the information I can about it online, and I write a review about what I think it's going to be about or my expectations for it. Later, after I've read the book, I can go back and edit it or update it. But if I can put the content out early, um, that will probably work in my favor because when people start searching for it, my post will have been one of the first, so it should show up faster. But basically, this is just a book review site, and I'm reviewing like every book that comes out. However, I'm going to need a lot of content for this to actually get the traffic that I need, and I can't review that many books. So what I'm going to do is try to form a partnership with maybe 100 other young adult authors who want to post some reviews also. And so maybe 100 of us will all write 5 or 10 reviews a month, or even one review a month. We'll get 100 reviews a month. That means this website will have more content and probably rank better than most review sites because a lot of review sites are just like one person review sites, and so they can't post that much content either. But if I can make a community of young adult authors and we put up a lot of content, this site could get a lot of traffic. And so then, on the sidebar, I would put our books, or I'd give a author page or links back to their website, so you can review their books. You want to do it for best-selling books because people are searching for them and they'll find you. But you also want to do it because if you review other self-publishing authors, they'll be grateful that you took the time. Because, I mean, it's hard to earn reviews. You know this. It's difficult to ask people for reviews. Nobody likes to go around asking people for reviews. But if you just make a list of 100 indie authors on Amazon, um, and you review their book and you write an article about their book, that's content for you, but it's also a favor that you're doing someone else. And if you're doing a lot of favors like that for other authors, it's a good way just to build a network. And there's a good chance, like if you review their books and then you email them and say, hey, I really liked your book, here's my article, there's a good chance they will share your article or link back to your website because they're really just talking about themselves. Like you put up a piece about their book, but that's free promotion for them. So they'll share it with their network, and they're kind of like giving their network to you. Because if I write an article for someone, maybe I have 100 people on my email list, but I do 100 book reviews for authors who all have 100 people on their email list. That's 10,000 potential readers. So if those authors are sending me traffic because I wrote a review about their book, that's really good for me. That's powerful. But not in like a scammy way where I'm taking their audience. It's just I'm doing them a favor, and they'll reward me by sharing my content. You can also interview them. I don't love author interviews because I think they're pretty boring for readers if they don't already love your book. Like it's not great marketing. It's okay if, and it's all right. You get some more visibility, but really people want to see your books. Um, However, you do get more content. So like a really easy thing I'll probably do maybe on this site, because right now I'm actually doing this contest that looks like this. I'm giving away some book marketing stuff to try to build a young adult author email list that I can use to do some group promotional marketing efforts. So basically, I'll just like one author will win this, and I will just focus on helping that author really improve their author platform and um, so they can sell more books. So it's a lot of work for me, but I have almost 1,000 people who have signed up already. So that's 1,000 young adult authors who potentially have, like, if they all have 100 people that they can reach, that's 100,000 potential young adult readers that I can reach if I'm able to leverage their platforms. That's why I'm doing it. It's an experiment, so we'll see how it goes. Um, but one of the things that I can do is just put up a form on my website instead of trying to do like an in-depth personal interview. I can put up a form that just has my questions for the interview, and I can just tell them to go to my website and fill out the form, and then when they mail it to me, I'll basically have my questions and their answers, and that's one piece of content for my website. And it's the same kind of thing. Like if I'm interviewing them, if I interview 1,000 young adult authors and I post 1,000 interviews on my website, that's a lot of content with the right keywords. And I didn't really have to do very much work for it because they're writing the answers and talking about themselves. All I'm doing is maybe organizing it a little bit and posting on my website. So it doesn't take that much time. And there's a good chance that they will share or link back to the interview. So, if they have 1,000 Twitter followers and I post an interview with them on my blog and then they share it, they're sending their followers to my website. If I've done my website well and I have an offer on the side, like if I was going to interview people, I might do it on Urban Epics, which is the site I'm trying to make for my fiction site. So if I posted, a couple hundred book reviews of books in my genre, and if I posted a couple hundred interviews with authors in my genre, I would have a lot of really good content and also a lot of stuff that other authors will link back to and share. So that's a really fast way to build up this website. Then when people come to my website, then I have my offers. And we'll talk more about offers later, but mine is basically fans read for free. And if they click on the thing, then I say, you can have all these free books. These are stuff, I haven't even finished these yet. These are the books I plan to write. So they're just signing up to get the books that I haven't finished yet. I'm giving away something I don't have yet, but that's something you can do. It's a pretty strong offer. But I need content. Right now, this site doesn't get any traffic because there's no reason for people to link to this site because I don't really have anything valuable here yet. But I'll start to also do this kind of thing on my own website because that's how you build traffic and build a platform. You can also host group events. It would be a really good idea for you to start a genre-specific writing group for your city. So like I live in Portland, Oregon, I could build a Portland, Oregon young adult fantasy writers Facebook group. Maybe I'll bet there's 100 people in Portland, Oregon writing young adult fantasy. I would think that's not really a stretch. So I'd print up some postcards. I'd make a Facebook group. I I may actually want to make an email list instead of a Facebook group, but a Facebook group is pretty nice too. I'd make a Portland young adult authors Facebook group, and then put postcards around and try to find all the Portland-based writing organizations and tell them about it, and basically just try to build a network of other young adult fantasy writers. It doesn't have to be city-based, but it's hard if you make it too general. If you make it location-based, there's more chances for you to network and hang out with each other. So then you could do like a monthly meetup. So every month or a monthly writing day. Like every Sunday, we're going to go to Starbucks and do like a 5 hour writing session and keep each other accountable. That's a really great thing to start. And even if only 2 or 3 other authors show up every month and do the work with you, that's still great. And you have this platform that's always attracting new authors. And that also becomes an interesting part of your author story. So you can say, I'm the founder of the Portland-based young adult fantasy writers group. And that's a thing that you can add to your website that gives you credibility. So that's the kind of thing you want to be thinking about doing. You can do blog tours also. I'm skeptical of blog tours because basically how it usually works is you will pay a fee to somebody and then they will do the research and contact the blogs and ask if they can do a blog tour. Which is fine, except you could really do that yourself if you wanted to. You just email blogs and say, hey, can we do something together? But a lot of times when you do blog tours, the blogs that you're on don't actually get a lot of traffic, or they don't really get real readers. And so when people say, pay for this blog tour, let me show you SimilarWeb and see if that works. If people say pay for some blog tour and you get on these 25 sites, what that means is basically they'll organize like 25 author interviews or 25 some type of content where you're showing up on their blog for a day. It's great for a book launch because you appear in a lot of blogs really quickly. If you do a blog tour, I wouldn't do like one a week. I try to get everywhere the same week because you want to drive all the sales during your launch week to really get your numbers up really high. But before you take the time to guest post or do a blog tour or put content on any other website, first you should research the website. So for example, let's see if this works. So this is Urban Epics. This is my website, but because I don't get, because it's new and I don't really get any traffic, there's not enough data. Which means you probably shouldn't put your content on my site because nobody's going to see it. And that's true, except as I build my site, it's going to get better. But on my main site, which is Creativity, it'll give you some more details. So this is my traffic. So it used to be up to 30K a month. It went down. Now it looks like it's going back up again, which is kind of nice. I was up at like 50K a month and then it went down. I don't use my blog that well. But so this tells you I get about 25,000 visits a month and people stay on my site for about a minute, which isn't great. That's the average time on my site. The bounce rate is 70%, which means when people land on my site, 70% of them leave without like clicking around and seeing other posts. But if you're going to do a blog tour, you want to find out the list of blogs that they're offering, and then you want to do something like SimilarWeb to see, is anybody actually going to those blogs? However, if it's cheap, you're still going to get links back to your website, which is good. Like if you put up your author interview or whatever on those blogs, even if there's not really any readers who are finding it, you might get 25 links from different blogs in your genre pointing back to your website. That tells Google that your website is valuable and that other blogs in your network or in your genre that they're linking back to you. So that's good for you But if it's a whole bunch of blogs that don't get any traffic and don't have any stats, there's another one I like. Website. Let me see if I can find it. There's several tools that you can use to kind of check a website out, but you don't want to spend a lot of time putting content on websites that aren't so valuable. It's better if you can put them on websites that that are worth more to you. Check domain authority. So we'll see if this one works. Okay, this is a good one. So it tells you the domain authority and the page authority and the total number of backlinks. So this is my site, Creativity. It tells you what the site is about. It tells you there's a lot of backlinks. There's quite a few social shares. And the authority is pretty good. So out of 100, I'm at 50%. So out of all the blogs on the internet, I'm kind of average. Is kind of what that means. But we could look at another site. Let's look at Off the Shelf. So this is that one that I was going to turn into a book review site. And I actually bought this domain, so it already had some authority. So the domain authority is 12, which isn't great. But the page authority is 24, which isn't that bad. But a brand new site is going to look more like this. So a brand new site with very little content. I probably set this site up like 3 or 4 months ago, but I don't really have very much content yet. There's no shares. The page authority is a 1 out of 100. This is more like what most people's blogs will look like, or most authors, if they're not putting out a lot of content. So if you find someone offering like a blog tour, but all the blogs look kind of like this, that's not great for you. It'd be better to find one really good blog to try to get featured on that has more authority or more blogs. So like if you do the research, let's see where that went. So for example, top 100 places to market your paranormal romance book. I might find one of these. It says showcase authors, advertising. And so that site has a domain authority of 26, a page authority of 38. That's much better. So that would be somewhere I'd want to try to show up. And again, I could do that by complimenting them and write an article about them so that they link back to me, or trying to build a relationship with them, or I could just see if they, here's blogging guidelines. So this is a place where I can post my blog. So anybody who's a paranormal romance author can write a blog post about writing paranormal romance, and they can get it posted on this website, which is pretty awesome. So that's the kind of thing you need to be doing when you're guest posting. You can use that title generator that I showed you before to get a lot of really good blog ideas, and then you could just email and say, here are 3 titles I was thinking about writing, and then they'll just tell you what they want you to do. It's better usually, I mean, most people, they want to do like a guest appearance or an author interview, but most bloggers don't really want that kind of stuff. They would much rather have stuff that actually gets some traffic. So if you do use the title generator and you give them some really good articles, like that one article, which was 6 reasons why you should never read paranormal romance or something like that, that could be a really good article that could actually give them a lot of traffic. So if you give them an article that's really clickable and will get them more traffic, that's great for them. And because they are an established site and they're going to link back to your site at the bottom, you'll get a link back to your site. That's really good for you too. So that's kind of what you want to be doing. A link exchange just means basically I'll link to some sites and I hope they link back to me. You can organize it. It's kind of hard to do with strangers. If I emailed, like for example, if I emailed them and I said, hey, I'm a paranormal romance writer, do you want to exchange links? I actually have another site I set up just for paranormal romance, which is edwardcullensucks.com. This is another site that I bought and then redesigned. The reason I did that is because it already has some history. So instead of starting from zero, it doesn't have a lot of history. It has a page authority of 21, domain authority of 11, but that's better than starting from zero. So that's why I bought it. So I'm going to turn this into like a paranormal romance specific site. But if I emailed, let me close that. If I emailed another blogger and said, hey, let's exchange links, they'd probably say no, because they don't see the value in it, and it sounds like a scammy practice. They'd be much more open to saying, hey, can we exchange author interviews? So that's something you can do. Find 25 authors. Like if you set up your local event and you have 25 authors in Portland who write the same genre, you could say, hey, everybody, let's exchange articles. So I would feature those 25 authors on my blog, and each of them would feature the 25 other authors on their blog, so that all the blogs are linking to each other, and that's valuable for everybody. It's just a way that Google sees all these blogs have a lot of stuff in common, and they're all linking to each other. There's actually something called a virtual PBN. It's a private blog network. It's something that a lot of people use to rank their site, because the best way to get a lot of traffic is to make sure you have a lot of high authority sites pointing to you. So one way to do that is just to buy a bunch of sites like this one that I got. So this is a high authority site. If I have 20 of these linking to the site that I really want, like my personal website that's actually going to make the money, that's an instant boost in ranking. And so that's why you'd want to exchange links with each other. But if you just ask for a link, like I could just easily put on my sidebar, here are my top 25, or here are my friends, here are 25 other authors in Portland who write about paranormal romance. I can just list their site on my sidebar, and I can ask them to do the same thing. I could even just give them the code and say, well, here's the code for all of our sites. Can everybody just put it on their website in their sidebar? And that'd be an easy thing to do, although not all authors understand the importance of that kind of link. So you may have to educate or explain why that's not a bad idea, because a lot of authors will say something like, I don't know, links don't really matter, or that's scammy, or I don't know what, but it works really well, so you should be doing it. But you can also just swap articles, which just means instead of just doing a link exchange, you just say, let's swap interviews or articles, post on each other's sites to get links back, but that takes more work. And like I said, you want to check site authority. One thing to remember, though, about site authority is that site authority is not always the same as impact or reach, because a lot of authors don't know anything about blogging. So a lot of author websites don't have a good site authority. So if you put them into, just an example, I won't pick on anybody, but there's some best-selling authors who don't get a lot of traffic, and they don't have much site authority because they don't really know about blogging or link exchanges or getting more traffic, and they don't focus on it because they sell a lot of books. So they feel like, well, I'm doing everything right already. But somebody who is doing really well is Joanna Penn, who you probably know because she's very well known in self-publishing circles. So her page authority is 72, which is awesome, and mostly because she does all of this stuff. She does a lot of it, and she does it really well. She posts a lot of interviews with other people that people link back to. She posts a lot of really great content. She used to let people post guest posts. The nice thing about guest posts is if you let people post guest posts on your website, they give you content, but they're also going to share your post and link back to you. So it's nice to do. The reason that she stopped and the reason most people stop is you don't want to just get a bunch of random crap on your website. And it's easier to, if you have a personal blog, to write your own content and make sure it has the same voice and it's all really good quality. But look, she has 65,000 backlinks. So those are other people who have liked her stuff or linked back to her or shared her content, um, which is pretty amazing. So if you could, like I have a guest post on her site because I wrote a guest post about designing book covers in Microsoft Word, and she actually said that that's my post got the most traffic on her website. Out of all the traffic that she gets, my post was the most visited, the most highly trafficked site because everybody's searching for how do I make a book cover. And I wrote a really long, in-depth, detailed article. So that's why I guest post, like I put it on her site because she gets traffic and a link back from her site is really valuable to me. And I actually don't do very much guest posting because I have been doing services and I can't, like if I double my traffic, I can't do double the work. I just don't have time to do more work. Now I'm switching into courses or books, but if you have books, there's no limit to how many books you can sell. So more traffic is always good traffic, and you want to get as much traffic as you can. So you really need to be starting to do this kind of things. But just remember, it's not only about, whoops, I'll go back. You don't want to ask for favors. So when you're thinking about like guest posting, you don't want to approach people and say, you don't want to feel like you're asking for things. You don't want to say, can I please guest post on your website because it'll be good for me and my website? That's a bad ask. If you feel bad about asking, it means you're not making the right ask. If you make the right ask, you're just offering them valuable content that's good for them. You both benefit. It's mutually beneficial, and you're doing all the work. All they have to do is post it. So if you do favors, it can mean you're helping other people out by putting them on your website. It can mean you're helping other people out by giving them valuable content that's going to bring them more traffic. But you always want to be giving value. You don't want to be asking for help. And when you start thinking about it that way, you start thinking about how can I help other people by producing valuable content that people are going to share and link to. That's how you build traffic in a platform. So I'm going to stop this video here.